My name is Lila, and I like doing crossovers. With South Park specifically, and this time I'm mashing it with Undertale. The way I usually do crossovers is I'll take South Park characters and replace the other Media's characters with them, 'cause I'm crazy. These are going to be in order that we see them in the game. So first up we have Butters as Torio. He is one of the first characters I drew in this crossover because I thought their personality fit each other pretty good. I did debate whether he should be a furry or just have animal traits, but decided to go full monster for this. I made the outfit a bit more interesting by adding cutouts and pants underneath to make it more masculine, as I do imagine Butters being more on the masculine side. Then I took all the colors from Butters and adjusted them accordingly, like changing his bright-ass neon yellow hair to a more natural blonde. I also give him a teacher version that was more inspired by Vic Chaos from the specials. But I did lose a fair bit of recording there, so make sure you check out the final art on my social media. Staying in the ruins, we encounter Stan as Napstablook. They both have their thing with sadness and music. It did take me some time to decide on legs or not, and after some voting, we've decided on no legs. You guys can actually vote on any of these details over on my Patreon for only $1 a month. There's a ton of decisions you can participate in, especially when working on big projects. Anyways, Stan is a little glowy worm ghost with a top hat and headphones. Next up, we've got Jimmy as Sans. I think their personalities are really alike, most notably the puns. Some of you simps may not like that I made Sans into the disabled one, but I feel like it fits. I also do not care about relevance of a character in the show, like I made Stan and Kyle characters that are not integral to the story, but Jimmy and some others are some of the main guys. As for Jimmy's hair, I did have to do two versions, bald and magic, as I felt that he may not be as recognizable without it. Same goes for the character that replaces Papyrus, because for some reason I chose like two characters that do not have hats to be the skeletons who are bald. And yeah, Papyrus is up next. I chose Clyde because they're both silly. And Clyde also could resemble Jimmy's brother, as both of them don't have any. So in this universe, Jimmy and Clyde are brothers, which actually doesn't feel like that big of a stretch. Biggest change I made for both Papyrus and Sans is the height. I like to imagine Clyde as the shortest boy in class, and Jimmy being like average height, which is the opposite of the characters I picked for them, so that is also a lot of fun. But I wanted to stay true to the South Park headcanons that I have, so they ended up more or less the same height. I also changed the writing on Papyrus's date outfit from cool dude to dumb man, cause that's cool, and also a reference to South Park, of course, and also football shoulders instead of basketball. Next up, I have a couple of quick ones, and that is Karen as Monster Kid. It was mostly a cute idea to go with Undyne, who you will see soon, and I thought the spikes replacing the pigtails was a cute idea. Made her eyes real big and sparkly to get the fact that she's a cute innocent kid across. And the other quick one was Craig as Grillbeam. Didn't even do a full body, as he is a minor NPC, but I like Craig, so I still wanted to include him. His design took a fair bit of voting on like every single part of it. As you could see on the screen, there was like a million of them. But I am happy with it in the end, and that's all that matters. I really like my idea of having like 3 little fires to represent his hat. I'm so smart for that. It's incredible. Next up is Undyne, and based on Monster Kid, you might have guessed that I drew Kenny as her. They are both like the loyal hero type with a good mix of both comedy and drama in their characters, and Kenny looks strangely good as a fish. I kept the skin blue because it suits Kenny and lets me dress him in orange without blending in, which is the opposite of what I did for the MLP crossover. You can see his clothes flickering colors, which is me getting options for people to vote on which ones were the best. I also chose purple for the spear color, as it is his eye color for me, and he's worn it quite often in the show itself. I don't draw armor that often, so I just freeballed it, but it was quite enjoyable and relaxing to draw. Surprisingly, and I think the orange really worked for the armor and made it look like copper, though I don't know how effective it would actually be in battle. So we also have his date outfit, which I just mainly recolored from Undyne into Kenny's colors. And of course, last but not least, we got Undyne the Undying. It is freaking perfect for Kenny. You know, the dude who keeps dying and coming back, of the Undying. I naturally had to make that version into a Mysterion. The darker colors really work with the more serious tone too. Yeah, I made him real handsome. I think he looks real good. And I did change the spear coming out of Undyne's eye into an X, as my Kenny always has X's in his eyes to signify death, which I think is very original. I am so original and so cool. You should follow me. Next up is actually Shelley as Mad Dummy. As we all know, all of the ghosts and dummies in the game are kind of related to each other story-wise, so I made the sad ghost and the mad dummy as the Marsh siblings. They don't actually mention being related to each other specifically, but I made Mettaton a different character at this point, and Mad Dummy's personality just fits Shelley better. I made her body a huge mouth with braces and that round metal thing that she has, but as not many of you know, Mad Dummy does end up possessing a Mew Mew Kissy Cutie doll in, I think, the Xbox version, which I think is cute, considering how Shelley is still girly and likes cutesy stuff while being a little piece of shit. So yeah, all pink and frilly and cute and anime and shit. Love it. Next up is Tweek as Alphys. This one was such a smooth transition with Tweek's hair perfectly translating to Alphys's spikes. Again, their personalities are similar and I just had fun with the design. The leg anatomy was a bit of a pain, but I got through it mostly by covering the upper half. I also added some pants underneath the lab coat because it looked a little bit empty there. But yeah, like I said, the personality flowed perfectly. We've got our little anxious and scaredy cat who is also gay. And speaking of gay, Kenny and Tweek are going to be together in this universe, which is super cute. 20 is super cute and it does not deserve the hate that it gets for literally no reason. But unlike Kenny, I actually had to change his date outfit quite a bit because Alphys wears a polka dot dress, which I had to change to a sweater instead. Next up, we've got Cartman as Mettaton. I'm not super used to drawing him, as I don't like him as much as the others, but I knew that I wanted him to be Mettaton, as again, their personalities just clicked, along with Osimo being the box version while Cartman himself being the X version. His box design is also so good, you can't even tell that it's from a stupid Undertale and South Park crossover. He may be the one that kind of deviates from the original design the most, because I had to find the perfect middle ground between the Mettaton box shape and the Osimo literal boxes shape. For the X design, I had a clear vision of the concept that I wanted for him, which would be a drag queen. Basically, because, you know, that is also like a pretty big deal with Cartman. Sorry about the Binding of Isaac. The main thing I changed with Metaton's design, besides everything you're seeing on screen, is the chest plate, like the heart on his chest plate area, which I did change to a pair of kidneys with one full and one hollow, referencing one of my favorite episodes, Cherokee hair tampons. I love Cherokee hair tampons, but I did bring the heart back for the Neo one, because if I didn't, it would have been a swastika, because it's Neo, like neo-Nazi. But I really did not want to do that, for obvious reasons. So, instead I referenced the Coon, his superhero persona, for this one, just like with Kenny and Undyne. I don't care much for this design specifically, but I do like how I used the Coon's colors, which are a little bit darker, and also I changed the wings from wings to a giant cape, which I think actually looks super dope. So, yippee! Next up is my boy Kyle as Muffet, and as you can see, he's not alone. You know how Muffet has this little spider that tells you what the next attack is? Yeah, that's Ike. Kyle is actually the first character I designed for this crossover, but not during this lineup. I've just been drawing Kyle as Muffet for quite a bit now, and in those previous iterations that I'm showing on screen, Kyle was pretty much unchanged aside from the colors. But Ike used to be kind of a water-based monster with drawn-on eyes and fake arms to copy a spider. But I did go in a different direction this time, mainly to keep it a little bit more simple, because the water stuff was a little bit distracting, especially with Ike not being the main character that we were supposed to be focusing on. So instead, I made him a puppet or marionette, playing into his wide mouth, which I kept from one of his previous designs, except with no fangs. For Kyle's design, I changed mostly the skin color, which I kept purple. I got rid of one eye and replaced his eyebrows with his top eyes instead. Kyle has the weakest link to his Undertale character out of all of them. I mean, you could say that Kyle being Jewish has something to do with Muffet's whole money shtick, but I would rather say that it's because they both love their families and it's a big aspect of their characters. But honestly, I just wanted to indulge in Spider Kyle because I'm obsessed. Last but not least, we've got Heidi as Asgore. At this point, I got to thinking, why did I choose Butters as Toriel and Heidi as Asgore, when their genders would match better the other way around? That's mostly because I thought of Heidi for the role a lot later than Butters, and I didn't want to switch them. And I do have some rules that I usually follow for crossovers, where the character's personality and role in the story is the first thing I look at. Second would be the relationships that they have with other characters in the story. Race and gender are not as important to me, especially since we don't have much of a selection when it comes to both of them actually, so I work with what I have. But back to Heidi, I like the concept of a previous relationship between her and Butters. They seem like a good couple, though in this universe Butters does end up being with Jimmy, because Toriel forever. Other than that, I used Warrior Heidi as a big reference for the design. I'm pretty proud of the pose with her, peeking through the trident, though I did have to change it a little for her surface outfit, which I made into a simple sundress. And with that, she is done! And that's it! Out of the main 10 boys, the only one I didn't use this time is Token. Sorry about that, I had no ideas on who to make him. If you do, please let me know in the comments. But before anyone points it out, Frisk would be New Kid slash douchebag. Asriel or Flowey and Kara would be OCs. I know they're a huge part of the story, but it's very rare for a crossover to be a perfect transition, especially with South Park, where the characters I usually use are about the same age. So I couldn't make Asriel some existing character when canonically he would just be a fan kid of Heidi and Butters. And I also couldn't make the little kids the main characters, because then literally every other monster would be either the South Park adult, which I would hate, or an OC, which would completely defeat the purpose of the crossover. Before I leave, I do also have some rapid-fire characters I thought of, but have not drawn. Those being Kristoff as Doggo, Caddy and Bratty as Mercedes and Lexus, or any of those Raisins girls, because I love them. Snowden Shopkeep as Nicole, Guards 1 and 2 as Wendy and Bebe. Yeah, more characters I couldn't fit into the story. Gerson as Mr. Mackey, an ice cream guy as Gary, and probably others I'm not remembering right now. So if you've got any ideas for those, share, please. I will steal. Thank you. Yeah, check out the full lineups on my social media like Tumblr and Twitter. I'll be posting just the speed paints on my TikTok and individual illustrations on my Patreon. Make sure you follow me there to get a look at my whips, get to vote on polls, and get discounts on my commissions, which are open by the way. Okay, bye!